say?
Yes, sir. Cole, it is good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Well, welcome back to the outside world.
To reality.
To reality.
It has been, getting out during COVID, it actually has been kind of relieving because you can't leave your house. It's kind of like the same thing, but you have access to better stuff.
Right. Well, I guess it's what would you call it? A gradual release to society.
Right, and I think it's been good because that's what we kind of need to do with inmates, because like I was in there 2.5 years. So when you turn somebody loose, the first thing they want to do is go get high. Usually, if they're an addict,
right,
or usually they don't have a place to go, or usually they're in a bad relationship and they go right back to the woman that they've been calling in the jail, and she's been telling them not to call, and the jail's been recording the conversations the whole time, and then they get surprised with papers.
Right.
So they go back to this person, and then they end up right back in the jail. So it's kind of that revolving door. I saw it firsthand.
Right.
Because, I ended up in there over a misdemeanor. DUI misdemeanor. Which I did mess up. It was my fault.
Right.
I guess the part of being a Southern heretic is you do have to own up to your mess ups.
Oh yeah, you got to. It's the only way you can grow.
Right.
When you wrong people, you got to apologize to them.
Yes.
When you realize that you're not quite as big a piece of shit as you were when you were younger, but you're willing to admit that you still are that same piece of shit.
Yes.
You just matured.
Right.
That's how I've learned how to deal with my Catholic guilt that they put in me as a child, But no, I get what you're saying, that like we should have something for, with all that's going on with prison reform, at least what was before COVID happened.
Right.
There should be some sort of gradual reintroduction to society. Like personally, I believe that whenever you're out, your debt is paid. I think your rights should be fully reinstated, all of them.
Right. Like felons' right to vote.
To vote,
right.
To own a firearm.
Right.
To buy land and stuff like that. I know, back in the day, I don't think it's here in Georgia, but in some states, when you were an ex-con, you came back out, you had about half of the quote-unquote rights that other people had. So you were given privileges instead of rights.
Right.
And I don't think that is a just way to run society. But like you said, there's sort of this, when there's no psychological treatment, you put somebody in a box for that long, then they're going to go back to exactly what put them in there to start with.
Right. And there is no for those of you, what do you have, viewers or listeners? Or users?
If they're viewing me, it's just my astral projection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they close their eyes and they're like, I can see him.
Got you. I'm picturing Colter as his voice. They might go to sleep with you tonight.
They might.
Or do other things with your image.
Little perverts. God bless them. When your standards are as low that you find my voice to be that comforting sound in the night.
Deep baritone. So I escaped from Lowndes County. Not really. They let me go on a pass, on a 48-hour pass, in Thanksgiving 2018, because my probation was revoked in January 2018 because I failed my probationary. I failed the standard. So I had to stay in jail, and they wanted me to stay in Lowndes County Jail until December 2020. I would still be in jail right now, doing day for day. DUI doesn't get 2 for 1 or any special treatment, and neither does if you have any family violence charge. You don't get any special days. So it's essentially a prison sentence. So when they gave me a pass to go home on Thanksgiving in 2018, from my military training, I was like, I am a prisoner. I'm literally a slave, because they work you like a slave, because they own you, they feed you, they control you. Something can be through a door that you need or want, but it might as well be a million miles away, because you're depending on them to give it to you, and they play with your freedom. And some of them love it. It gets them off. But anyway, when they let me go, I was like, I'm not going back in there. That is crazy talk. So I took my chances and I hopped on a plane and I flew to Colorado because I knew they had excellent VA care and marijuana was legal. Anyway, I did get caught a week later. I did make Ashley Falk mad. He was not happy with me that I took advantage of his past, which I get. He was usually.
Well, you had a couple people locally that you kind of rolled over on as well. Like just because they didn't know that you were about to.
Oh yes, yeah, I did
fly out to.
I didn't tell anyone.
I didn't know. I think I saw you in passing like that week because it was only like 2 days, right? And
I got out on a Thursday and I left on a Saturday morning.
Yeah,
no one knew what I was doing.
Yeah. So that. Yeah. You should have got caught, and you did get caught. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't have any ill will towards you by any means.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, like whenever you get out, you've paid your debt. But
right. Oh yeah, but I was getting to the healthcare in Colorado for prisoners. Like the jail out there is phenomenal. It's the food is actually great. They teach all the women how to bake. You can get your GED. They can get you certifications to work with the massive transit system they have out there. They have a whole floor dedicated to medical, dental, psychological.
Wow.
They'll give you vaccines.
Is that just because of the state's budget that they have for prison reform?
Well, they're using all their marijuana revenue for this.
Now, who would have known that would work?
Yeah, how about that? But there is none of that here at Lowndes County.
No. Well, Ashley Falk is running unopposed for sheriff in the election. There's not a Republican that's running. It's just the Democrat Ashley Falk. That's it. And I don't have any personal problems with Ashley Falk other than I saw him accost some protesters because there was naughty language on the sign. Get over it, Ashley.
Yeah.
This is America, sir. But anywho, it's with the marijuana stuff. Even like me, like I'm pretty much a constitutionalist, so I think that the 10th Amendment is a violation of. The Controlled Substance Act, or drug laws, are a violation of our 10th Amendment.
Right.
Because the populous people, we did not vote on this. And it says that the rights not bestowed in the previous 9 are decided by the state, or the people.
Right.
So where was our voice in all of this?
Right.
And we've had all these folks that are nonviolent, that have been locked up for drug charges.
They'll take your life over a simple gram.
Yeah, man. Like it's not a wise way to run the state, and especially here in like Georgia, man. Like we can grow so much here. Like this is like a really blessed land because we're far enough in from the sea to where when the tidal waves come in the apocalypse, whenever the next global catastrophe happens. Like we're far enough inland to where we don't have to worry about that kind of like what you call tsunami, I guess, or something like that.
The tidal rise, inundation's what they call it.
There you go. Yeah. There you go, dude. I was watching this thing on. It was tying in Atlantis and the Book of Enoch and old world events. With the idea of there was some sort of catastrophe that happened not millennia ago, but these cats are tying it into like the early 1800s, that like Atlantis, parts of it would have still been visible in the Atlantic Ocean.
Really?
And that it was another continent, and that you had writings that went back further to like something like a 650 BCE, where they were talking about that from the Strait of Gibraltar,
right?
If you go due west, that they thought that was the ocean, but this guy talks about that's actually the false ocean. It's a bay of Atlantis, of this continent, and the true ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, is on the west end of it, and then there's America beyond that. And these guys were like tying in all this like seismic data to make these arguments. Really fascinating stuff.
That sounds cool.
I don't know how I got to that from Ashley Palk and.
Was that Ancient Aliens?
No. I'm not a big fan of Ancient Aliens.
No.
I like Ancient Aliens Debunked.
Debunked? Yeah.
It's
that
good...
guy with the hair on Ancient Aliens is wild.
Aliens.
Yeah.
I like the other guy that he's he kind of looks like a generic like Italian mobster. Like if you see him like sitting in the corner, like just like my daughter's very pleased that you could bring her this cannoli for her birthday. And he doesn't sound like that. That's why, but his voice is like there could have been no other explanation except aliens.
Yeah, right.
How else would they move a stone 5,000 tons?
Right.
And then, like, people start breaking it down. It's like, this stone is not 5,000 tons at all. It's like 5 tons. And they had pulleys. They could just pull that shit up.
Debunked.
Yeah.
Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. What is an ancient astronaut theorist?
Yeah. It's no different than, like, people that will, like, read the Bible and, like, try to, like, tell you, like, this is exactly what it means. It's like, bro, I think you're missing the point here.
Yeah.
Like... couldn't it maybe just be a metaphor, but about creating people out of the earth and out of the the cosmos itself? No, he took a rib, pulled that sucker out, and then whirled it around with some dirt and breathed in nostrils, and that was it.
Right.
It's like I can't get on board. That's like stuff with like the ancient astronaut. It's like, have we ever seen an ancient astronaut?
Yeah.
Not one. Just because you see like oh, there's a clay tablet and it looks like this guy's flying in some sort of craft. Like, well, fuck, man. Like Hindu religion has like sky chariots. The Greeks had sky chariots and things like that.
Yeah. Mars.
Yeah.
Apollo.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that they were traversing the galaxy with rocket fuel.
Lifting stones for these peasants.
Yeah. Just so you could discover it now through the History Channel. Shit. Anywho, but that's awesome that Colorado was able to take something like that has falsely imprisoned people for years and then use it to be like, hey, why don't we take this and make it a little bit better for our citizens? So I get the appeal. Yeah,
and the Denver Detention Center should be the jail standard across the nation.
Is it? Does it have all the Illuminati stuff like the airport as well? Like,
oh, I never made it to the airport. I got transported back on a bus. It took me 2 weeks to get back.
Golly.
It's like a contractor that works for the marshals.
Were you cuffed the whole time?
Oh yeah, you're cuffed with your hands and you got your belly chain and your feet are cuffed. And the van has 12 people. There's 2 drivers, and they take turns sleeping. So they'll drive for 3 days. They got to stop every 3 days. So they'll pick up and drop off inmates, essentially. So I went to every jail. When they picked me up from Denver, we went to Utah, then we went to Nevada, then we went to Northern California, all the way down to Southern California, back up to Southern Nevada, and then we went back to Northern Utah, and then we had to stop at this jail for OSHA standards so these 2 drivers could sleep. And they have to call ahead to these jails and like, hey, can we stay with you? Because some jails would deny them because they've had a problem with the inmates that are like, hey, I guess these inmates come in there with this attitude. I'm only staying here one night. I can do whatever I want and act a fool. That's what almost happened when they dropped me off here at Lowndes County, and this dude almost got roped up by Sergeant Jackson. She does not play. So we walked into this Mormon jail. They had never seen I don't know if they'd never seen a black person or if they don't see them often, because everyone turned and looked and the music stopped and the white chick that was tripping in the cells like slowly stood up and she's like, oh my gosh, a black person. Rubbing herself. Yeah, it was weird because everybody with me, we were all Southerners. We were all going to the South, so we didn't think anything of it.
Right.
But these folks in this mountain town, it was a sight.
It's so fucking odd.
Yeah, it was weird. So we stayed there a night, and then we finally, from there we went to back to Denver. Then we went to Kansas and New Mexico, El Paso, and then we had a 6-day layover in Central Texas. And those boys were like big and gay, and I swear they liked herding us around, putting us in these nasty showers. And I don't know, it was weird. Like, these inmates that were on these buses, for some reason in their head, they thought they were going to get transported across the United States in a matter of hours. They thought they should be at their destination, so they would be freaking out. And these big Texas boys, they'd put them in these rooms and they strip them down naked and tie them up. It's man. Wild, man. And then they finally, I got on the bus home, and I made it back to Lowndes County. Let's see, I left, I don't know, 2 days before Thanksgiving. No, 2018. I made it back in April 2019.
Shit.
Yeah. It was wild. But I definitely met some interesting characters.
I was about to say, if I had a choice between a prison tour and being stuck in the same place for the same amount of time, I'll take the bus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I imagine y'all had at least windows on the bus, right?
Oh, no.
No windows?
No windows on the bus go around and around, dude. There was 2 windows you could look out the back, but other than that, there were benches, and we were separated by a metal partition. So we had to sit, if the bus was packed, you had to sit 4 to a bench. And if we had females, they would have to sit up front. 3 of them would have to sit, and they would be in there tight. But if there wasn't that many people, we could stretch out. And we'd sleep on there, and the males would have to pee in bottles because they wouldn't stop, because we had to stop at jails to go to the bathroom because they had problems with inmates trying to escape, because they used to stop at rest stops, and inmates bumming cigarettes from the public, or inmates talking to the public trying to get rides. You know, these people are desperate to get away.
I mean, if I were at a rest stop traveling, and a bus full of like 28 convicts,
rolls
fully
up.
dressed, walks up.
Well, we are in civilian clothes, so that makes it. You're like, why are these people chained? They're not cops, because they're not cops.
I bet woman probably did something like really convincing, like, listen, you got to help me out here.
Yeah.
I'm innocent. I've never met any of these people. My wife, Samantha, she's been looking for me.
Right.
You have to help me get to her.
Exactly.
Oh, God. Bob, we have to help this young man.
In fact, grab them all. You can all come with us. They've kidnapped these people.
This is like one chance encounter like radicalizes this old couple from Arkansas. We have to help them, Gerald. If we don't, who will?
There's a standoff on their property. It was wild. I met some interesting. There's a lot different breed of outlaw out west than there is here.
It's a completely different America. Once you get west of Mississippi.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Like I've been places out west where, and I don't even have that thick of a drawl to my accent, but they'll like stop and they're like, "Where are you from? My goodness, that voice is so peculiar. You're not from here, I can tell."
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But I guess it's something you don't really like think about all that much as far as criminal culture, outlaw culture.
Criminal culture. You wouldn't know it exists unless you've been in it.
Yeah.
It's a whole world in itself.
Yeah, it really is, because it's within the criminal culture. You have folks that are like true criminals, who are like oh, I'll hurt a motherfucker, like without mercy, without reason, just because. And then you've got outlaws that some of them may hurt people, and some of them may just be like, nah, it's just what I do is illegal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if some dude is selling grass to adults in Kansas, I don't give a shit. I don't think he's harming anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if some dude is robbing people in Kansas, that I have a problem with. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's in the eyes of the law. They don't look at it like that. It's all they're all criminals.
Right. Yeah. They brand you forever.
Yeah.
Like you're going back to your felony rights.
Yeah. Which I mean, it's one thing that's kind of botched up about the 14th Amendment, where on the surface it sounds like oh yeah, we all have like all these rights, exactly, and then the clause of it is unless serving punishment for a crime,
right,
and then you don't have anything. Now you're property again. You know, like there's a problem with that. because I don't think there's a constitution for prisoners. You know what I mean? Or like a Bill of Rights for prisoners.
No.
I think it's determined on whatever the judicial system says and whatever prison system they send them to.
That's exactly, yeah. Because it's I wrote the ACLU while I was in jail, and after going from Denver and coming back to Lowndes County, seeing the difference and the change in the environment, I would write the ACLU here up in Atlanta, and they would send me back all the facts, and essentially every one they would send me back, case after case, of crazy experiences where you'd be like, wow, how did this person not win? Essentially everyone would say, yeah, you could sue, but it's impossible to win against the government because they have deep pockets and you don't. And they who knows how they will interpret the law.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a game. You know what I mean?
It is a game.
There's a reason why it's held in a court.
Right.
Is because it's a game that you're stepping into. So I think the problem is a lot of times folks will want to attach emotional logic to it.
Right.
Where it's like, well, yeah, like, but he was defending his house from somebody that broke in. It's like, yeah, true. But in California, the game says that this is what is illegal. So you have to find a way with word salad to sort of like finagle your way around the argument of the state. Like you said, they got deep pockets and they do this routinely.
Right.
This is just your one day in court.
Yeah.
Every day is a day in court for the government.
Exactly. They don't care about you.
No.
We're just a number.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people that get upset whenever people vote differently than they do. It's like, well, you're not responsible for their vote.
Right.
You're responsible for your vote. In the grand scheme of things, we're all going to die. The world's going to end. Civilization will collapse, and another will rebuild. But that's not going to be until long after everybody you know is already dead and gone.
Right.
All their grandchildren, too. Like, it's not happening for a while. So all we can do is decide, who do we want to mismanage us on the road to our own destruction. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, your one vote is going to have more effect locally than it is nationally. Like, people that get really upset with political arguments people make, it's like, well, what are you guys voting on the smaller stuff?
Mm-hmm.
President isn't fucking politics. That's a symbol for politics.
Yeah, the president rarely affects your daily life.
No. Even no matter what narcissistic shit he tweets
Right.
out, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. But like, there's one coming up in Georgia that it's an amendment. There's two of them. One of them I think is how to reallocate fireworks taxes. Personally, don't give a shit.
Right.
Like, I'm not in the fireworks business. Use the tax money for something good.
Right.
You guys decide. I'm cool with it. Whatever. But the other one is, in Georgia, they don't call it qualified immunity. There's a different term for it. But it's essentially a way for us as citizens and civilians to sue the government if we are imprisoned or fined or arrested for something that is unconstitutional against our local, state, or federal constitution. And in Georgia currently, we don't have that. They have what is, for lack of a better term, is qualified immunity.
Right.
So we now have it on the ballot coming up in November. So I think more people should, at least in Georgia, should be focused on that than whether or not somebody is voting Biden or Trump or Jorgensen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is important.
Yeah.
This other shit is just, what puppet do you want, like, dancing in front of your screen, shaking your fist.
For the next 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Saturday Night Live skits.
That's what it's essentially about, man.
Yeah, that's what you're voting for.
Yeah. And, like, there's some folks that, I've talked about this before on the show, like I personally, I think the president's an asshole.
Mm.
I think he knows he's an asshole. He even says, or has said, that I'm not a nice guy, but I work for you.
Right.
So at least I appreciate that sort of, like, forthrightness. But like him talking about the very fine people and the Charlottesville thing,
Right.
where they took a clip of it, and he's like, there were very fine people on both sides. Now, the full context of it, a few moments later, he says, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists. They should be condemned totally.
Right.
End quote. So people will use that very fine people thing. I'll be like, hey, I know you guys hate the president, but I just want to let you know, this example is a hoax that legacy media sold you. They lied to you about this.
Right.
So you're entitled to your own opinion, but this right here is wrong. Like it is false for you to push this out. It's not true. There's a myriad of other things of Trump saying asshole-ish stuff that I'm sure you could probably use for your argument.
Right.
But this one in particular is not. But some folks, they won't even care. They're just like, well, yeah, but still, I know what he meant.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you know what he meant? He literally, at the end of it, he says what you wanted him to say.
But still.
Yeah, it's just like, I just don't believe that. They could have doctored that. It's like, what do you mean they could have doctored it? They could have doctored any of the stuff you've seen.
Yeah.
This isn't getting to truth.
They doctored the moon landing.
Yeah, I mean, like seriously. That's the one that'll. I've even got to like my mom before, because my parents are very open minded. They don't judge me for being into weird stuff, conspiracies and whatnot.
Right.
But I was saying something, and she was like, for a guy who thinks the moon landing never happened, that's a pretty stupid thing. I forget what it was, but like. It was a good jab that she had,
Yeah.
But I was like, well, since you haven't looked into the moon landing being faked, I could like ruin your childhood in, probably 15 minutes. But I don't think either one of us wants that. She's like, no, I don't. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, when you start looking into stuff with a critical eye, it's kind of like we were going back to earlier about like admitting when you're wrong or when you fucked up or anything,
Right.
Because now it's your worldview.
Right.
Yeah. Now it's like, oh, things that I thought that I knew for decades, I actually never questioned.
Right.
I never looked into. And, I was scared to even do so, because if I look into it and I'm wrong, then that means I'm not right at this moment. And
Right.
it's more comfortable for people to want to be correct in the moment.
Oh, yeah. Pride is a big downfall for a lot of people. And the people are blinded by it. They don't even know it's an issue for them.
No. Well, I think it's a problem with kind of what we were talking about before we got started about like echo chambers.
Right.
Is that whenever you're getting nothing but positive affirmation in a feedback loop, and anytime anybody tries to challenge you, the other people in the echo chamber attack them and demonize them. The echo chamber wants you to keep repeating the same things that they're repeating.
Right.
And anytime you sort of fall off, or somebody tries to say like, hey, like you guys should like see it from another perspective, you probably get even a stronger resolve in your own beliefs.
Right.
You won't even agree, just it'll strengthen your own beliefs. And no, people ain't having it.
No. They don't want to be challenged.
No.
They like the drug they're hooked on.
Yeah. Yeah, that Disney Plus illusion.
Yeah.
There's something that Eddie Bravo was talking about with something with CNN and the Washington Post, and somebody had critiqued him on like a YouTube video that he was citing. He's like, if I told you Disney made it, would that change your opinion of it?
Right.
Like if Disney made it, you'd be all about it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Hyperrealism.
Yeah. Well, it's that like that seal of approval,
Yeah.
Where like now truth is dependent on who's telling it, not what the truth is,
Right.
but says who? Because we've got experts that say otherwise. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe the experts are lying to
If I
you.
want to be a sexless alien and marry a dog and adopt a child, damn it, I'm going to. and you can't tell me I can't be those things.
This is my life now, fellas.
Exactly.
Get used to it.
Good night.
My name is X139.
Exactly.
I am no longer Roger.
But I would still test as a man my genes.
Mm-hmm. There's with and this is probably a sensitive subject for some people, but that's fine. But one thing that I think that the ruling with was it Gorsuch, one of the Trump appointees, he wrote the ruling on civil rights with a case with trans, that a workplace cannot discriminate you being transgender or outside the scope of gender, just the same way they can't discriminate you based on your age, your race, your religion, any of that stuff, which totally agree with.
Right.
Absolutely. But when we're talking about incarcerating people, I don't think it's a wise idea to have this sort of notion of outside the spectrum of biological sex, because if you're and we've seen it happen in the UK and in some other states, I think Iowa's one of them, where you're starting to see violent serial sex offenders, like serial rapists and pedophiles and other violent folk that are saying that they've actually realized that the reason they have been so violent in the past was because they have been marginalized as a woman trapped in a man's body, and that they need to be reinstitutionalized at a female penitentiary.
Is that right?
And some of the, like in the UK, like they do it, there's a guy in Iowa, they're starting to pop up where, again, because court is a game, right?
Yeah.
So they're finding a way to argue this in the game to say that even though, I may have raped 6 women,
Right.
In Des Moines, I'm actually a woman myself, so you can't put me in a prison with all these dudes.
Right.
Like think of how closed-minded and not inclusive that is of you.
It's like putting Caitlyn Jenner in a female prison.
When you start thinking about stuff like that, it's like, shouldn't it just be simpler if we're just like, all right, if you got this between your legs, you're in this prison complex.
Right.
If you got this between your legs, you're in this complex. If you have a problem with that, then okay, you can go to whatever it is that they'll more or less, I guess, put you in solitary.
Right.
Special treatment or
Right.
something where it's like, okay, if you need special treatment, then you get treated special the way everybody else is, where you're sectioned off from everybody.
Mm.
Your time outside is going to be on a different spectrum than everybody else's time outside. Like, I know that's not a very sensitive way to look at it, but I think that is the most logical way to look at it for some of these convicted rapists that are trying to play that card of I'm actually transgendered,
Right.
and you need to move me out of the men's prison into
That
the women's
is
prison.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing in Colorado that I'd never seen was transgenderism. I guess there were men pretending to be women in the men's portion of the jail.
Mm-hmm.
So we had one, and the guards have to call them by their transgender name. They can't call them by their legal male name. They have the option to continue buying bras and makeup on the jail store. If they go to prison, they are issued bras and makeup, and they're continued on hormone treatment. And they even have the option to bunk with, and the jail terms are called like war daddies or punks. They're made punks. They have the option to move in with a man, and they essentially play husband and wife his whole stay. So the he, she is the she, and I guess the guy, buys her things, and it's so weird. It was just in a different culture out there, like you said. West of the Mississippi is a different place.
Different completely.
Yeah.
That's shit. What I guess if you're,
But taxpayers are paying for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that voters should decide on where all of our tax money is going. I think that's one of the big things that we don't have.
Right.
So, like, if the folks in Colorado want that, and that's how they have it, hey, by all means, cool.
Right.
Like,
I don't think folks in Colorado know that's going on. Unless you're going to prison, you don't know that's going on.
Right. There was something. I think it was Los Angeles County. I don't know if it was the corrections department there, how it's run, but it was a juvie hall, and they were like subjecting pubescent boys to like female hormones,
Really?
like forcibly, and like that, like why?
Yeah.
Like why? And I think there were a couple of points that were made, and one of them was like, well, they'll do that for transgender teens that are in juvenile hall, or they're locked up. I'm like, that. I mean, maybe that doesn't seem.
That doesn't seem normal.
No, I mean, yeah, somebody wants to transition. Like, hey, I'm all about it. This is America. Do you?
Right.
I think kids should be kids, though.
Yeah, you don't need to be a teenager. These things that may alter them permanently.
Yeah. And people get up in arms about that with well, you just don't know. You're right. I'm not qualified for it, but from the little bit I've seen, which is not much. There's not much data to support this other than anecdotal.
Right.
That you should let kids be kids. We shouldn't be introducing kids to sexuality in kindergarten, which they're doing in California.
Right.
And this story about guards forcibly using female hormones on a pubescent teen.
Can you imagine going to pick your teen up from juvie and he has breasts?
Oh my God!
And he has
I'd be so proud.
high
I'm like,
voice.
Son,
yeah,
you did it.
Yeah, you really changed in there, boy. Your mom, she'll be so proud. But I can't remember where I was going. Eugenics. That's where it started in America back in the early 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Nazis weren't the only ones doing it. It was happening here in America, too.
Yeah, people don't want to think about it, though. That's like my big problem with Planned Parenthood has nothing to do with them performing abortions, though I think abortion's gross.
Right.
I think you're killing a baby. That's just me personally. That's fine if you want to do it. I'm not going to do it, but I don't have a uterus,
right?
So I don't ever have to worry about that stress. But what were we just talking about?
Eugenics.
Eugenics. Margaret Sanger, the woman who started Planned Parenthood,
mm-hmm.
her goal was to reduce and then minimalize, if not eliminate, brown people from the planet, non-white folk from the planet. And folks are still just support Planned Parenthood. I'm like, suck my dick. I'm not supporting that racist-ass company. They're eugenicists.
Yeah,
it's based on eugenics. Planned Parenthood has competitors, but if we keep giving taxpayer money to them, they're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't support that company at all.
Haven't they been caught selling baby parts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why I don't support the government giving them money at all.
No, that's our money.
Yeah. If they want to be their own business, I mean, do what you do. It's America.
Yeah.
It's we're a capitalist nation.
Yeah. Well, we should be anyway.
Yeah. We're actually not really a capitalist nation.
No, because we bail out corporations.
Yeah.
And that's corporate socialism. You know what I mean?
Right.
If it's true capitalism, when your company goes belly up, sorry.
Yeah.
You went belly up.
Right.
Start a new business.
Exactly. There's been eugenics stories lately in the news. This another California medical company was testing something in Illinois. They were testing it on nursing home residents. It wasn't medicine. It was some kind of research chemical, because those were people that were in. I guess they had no family. No one would miss them.
Right.
And there's a lot of talk in papers that have become declassified about Area 51. That's what has been going on out there. It was never aliens. It was always eugenics. They took the Nazi scientists. They say, hey, we need you got to help us build these rockets, because we got to beat the Russians to the moon. But you can still keep on doing your experiments. But we got to build this area for you, and nobody can know about it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think sort of gets glossed over with Operation Paperclip, when we brought all the Nazis.
Right. They're still Nazis.
They're still Nazis.
Yeah.
People are like, well, they were scientists. It's like, what the fuck difference does that make?
Yeah.
Nazism was it was a religion. You know what I mean? They took this ancient symbol of a swastika and turned it into it's for the white peoples only. We're the original Aryans, and they had other folks. Their argument, Iran, I think, was part of the Aryan race as well, because it all had to do with some trek of a race and a culture from Western Europe to Eastern Asia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what their argument was for it, but this is what they believed. This wasn't a notion of all of Germany believed that. No, the Nazis were just the most dominant religion and ideological force in Europe.
Right.
Like that's it was not just this. Well, they were just following orders. No, these scientists were doing some fucking bad shit.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name, but he was doing vaccines. Like that's all his thing. He was just more or less finding shit to inject into people and seeing what happens.
Exactly.
Over and over and over again. And then we bring them over to America, and where we think that, well, they just went to, like you said, like the Area 51, space travel, space race,
Right.
NASA,
right?
But no, we brought over like 10,000 of these Nazis.
We set them up in homes, and
the UK got some.
Yeah.
Like all these like big world powers, like
that's where the technology boom came from.
exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, now we have all this money after the war.
Yeah.
So
No, and all this money came from raping Germany and all the other countries.
yeah, exactly. Well, and these like these Nazi scientists, like they were eugenicists, you know, like
Right.
so, like we bring them over here to the States, and not all of them are being assigned to, you know, NASA. Some are going into what would become the CIA,
Right.
you know, because they're experts in intelligence and propaganda.
Exactly.
And then you have other scientists that, like you said, they're sticking in like biological sciences. We don't really have an organization that we can point to for that in America.
Yeah, that we know of.
Yeah. But I mean, if you look in kind of the same way you're talking about with this town in Illinois, that the nursing home that they were just sort of doing research experiments on.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's what they were doing with insane asylums back in the 1950s and 60s.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
where do you think a lot of these Nazi scientists went? Well,
Right.
they had the loopholes in the law that, well, when you're committed to the state, well, nobody's going to miss you.
Yeah, no one's going to miss you.
Yeah, you're our property right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
And it's the thing with insane asylums back in the day was that they didn't have to tell you when you're getting out.
Right.
Like in prison system, it's like, well, here's your potential release date.
Right.
Here's when you are guaranteed to get out.
Right.
Mental institution was not like that. It's like, no, you're here until.
Yeah, on paper, we still think you're insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's as easy as that for like
Right.
one board or even sometimes one person just be like, no, I don't think you're ready yet, Greg.
Yeah.
I think
Greg.
you need to go back to the shock treatment a few more times.
I saw you talking to those eggs. Are they talking back, Greg?
Listen, you guys have to help me. Get me out of here.
Greg! Yeah, it's that easy.
Hmm?
And that's what it's been going on ever since.
Yeah. Well, again, like it's about this comfort that people have.
Right.
You know, where it's like, well, I don't think that is true. It's like, well, yeah, because you don't want it to be true.
Yeah, you can. All this that we're talking about now is declassified information. I think 97, 98, 2000s, they declassified about Area 51. And there's an author that has written on it. I can't remember her name.
Annie.
Jacobson.
Yeah.
Yeah. She went to talk to a guy that was trying to unburden himself.
Yeah.
About, hey, there were never aliens. It was the Nazi scientists. And this dude that said he saw an alien, it wasn't an alien. It was these scientists that were performing on disfigured people, or they were disfiguring them on purpose,
Right.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. I guess it would be what would have been transhumanism back then. You know, now it's all like robotics is the idea of transhumanism.
Right.
But I guess back then it would have been like closer to like, okay, well, how can we mutate
Right.
like some X-Men shit?
Yeah,
Right?
and like China has been trying to combine gorilla and a human
Yeah,
for
like
decades.
Yeah, making chimeras and shit.
Yeah, and they're trying to. God, I don't know. See what comes out of that. We'll never know because we can't. Nobody can look inside of China.
No.
What happens when you can't combine a gorilla and a human, and what are you putting it in to incubate, and what are you producing? What is the end product?
I mean, wouldn't it just be foot soldiers like that, or slaves? Like, you know what I mean? That's what
Right.
it seems to be. Where it'd just be like, well, all right, release the gorilla men.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you seen the new Planet of the Apes?
Mm-mm.
You know, so they use some of the monkeys take the human side, and they use them as to carry heavy things.
Ah.
So yeah, it could be you have the intelligence, or you have the strength of an ape, but the intelligence of a man who can still jump out of planes and stuff. And you send out 4 of those, and they'll wreck your world.
Yeah.
You've got the strength of an ape.
Yeah, well, especially even something like a chimpanzee. Which,
Yeah.
smaller than us, but like, you ever see those things? Like when they're
yeah.
shaved, they're fucking ripped,
Right,
dude.
dude.
Like they can just rip a person in half and just still be smiling, eating a banana, you
So a
know?
platoon is 40 people. You send out a platoon of little chimpanzee men. Good night. And they got guns? Please.
I don't think it would be too good with firearms. I think it would be more of like a bludgeon. Or
Yeah,
like
could be, yeah.
Maybe they'll give them firearms, but you know there's not a clip in it. They just got a bayonet on them,
Right.
so they can just
That
stab
could be
you.
the reason. Maybe they get them cheap to make. They just start breeding these things. But I don't know. They already got 1 billion people.
Well,
China's itching for a fight. They're messing with India on that border, and now
when they're rounding up Muslims and
Yeah,
sterilizing
and
them, rounding up Christians and
Yeah.
sterilizing them.
and they're building these military islands.
Yeah.
They're building up their navy. Kyrgyzstan, their government just got toppled. They're right on the border of China. So I bet China steps in. I don't know who did it. I don't know if China released COVID or America went over there and released COVID in China, but it got out of somewhere.
Yeah.
It came out of a lab.
Yeah.
And my original thought was, well, China did it as a pre-run to see how the world would react. Because Chinese people, they don't think like Americans. Americans think very short term. We're very instant. We want instant gratification. With Chinese, they think their theory is to drop in the bucket. Like you drop something in the water, like a stone in the water, and they think about the ripples, the 10 ripples out. The
Right.
decisions they make are that far out. So that's nothing for them to release a virus now and see how it affects the world when they're planning on releasing another one in 100 years.
Yeah.
So this could just all be a pre-run. Because they're just waiting the U.S. out. They're buying up our land from the inside out.
Yeah.
And they're going to essentially own our debt. And well, they own like a fourth of it now.
Yeah.
So who knows how long until they own half of it.
I think that's what some people don't realize is that aside from America being a country, we're a corporation.
Right. Yeah,
Like-
America is a consumer corporation.
Yeah, and you can buy and sell corporations.
Right.
You know, so if you look at sort of like how the Chinese government has treated its people
Right.
over, let's say, just since Mao,
Yeah.
not really a good track record for the Chinese government on human rights.
Right.
But at the same time, like, what's kind of weird about China is that they're not a really imperialistic nation. You know what I mean? Like yeah, they've got their a navy, you know, that is set up in the sea and set up shop, and the disputed territory in India. But other than that, I don't think China's ever been an aggressor in like a global conflict before. Like even like during World War II, like the Japanese, like World War II really started when Japan attacked China.
Yeah, they invaded them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't Germany invading Poland like we're all taught. The Japanese, I think it was like a year, maybe 6 months in a year before that, had already invaded Nanking and like was already making moves.
Yeah.
But history books don't.
Oh yeah, they don't talk about the Japanese. Yeah, I've always
They'll talk about Pearl Harbor, but they don't talk about Japan invading China.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think they invaded like Manchuria in '31.
Yeah.
They were in there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, China didn't really. They weren't. I mean, you had obviously China's been around for 5,000 years, maybe longer. I recently read this book on salt, the history of salt, and it was very interesting. It starts out with China and Egypt, and who was the first to discover salt, and but it's worth looking into if it's your culinary history.
Right.
I mean, it is nothing but salt. It is tight, and how it was until recently, how it was worth more than gold because everybody has to have it to live.
Yeah.
And you have to have it to cook. You have to have it to do anything. We didn't realize how plentiful it was in the ground. Anyway, where was we going on that?
We're still talking about China and World War
Oh
II
yeah, well
history.
they weren't a world power. They've been around for a long time, and they had a lot of internal conflicts. And I guess they had some conflicts with the Mongols, but yeah, they didn't have the power to be a world power until I guess communism took over, and that's when they started industrializing.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're in the nuclear age, and we have the UN and we have NATO. Now, like NATO is talking about forming a NATO against China.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know what you would call that. NATO?
I guess it would depend on what countries they are. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think there's some in the North Atlantic that China's already sort of probably bought and sold.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
So,
but it is weird to think about that because, like, in the modern scope of like politics, everything has to be like boiled down to, well, if you critique another nation, you're being xenophobic. It's like, what the fuck kind of logic is that?
Right.
I'm not talking about like the normal folks that live there. I'm talking about their fucking government.
Yeah.
Like when I'm talking shit on the American government, I'm not talking about like my parents or your parents or anybody. I'm talking about the folks that are the elected officials making decisions.
right.
And China, as if you just look since like Mao and the famine in like the 60s that happened, like, and to say that like, well, yeah, but see, they're a world power now. It's like millions, hundreds of millions of people died
Right.
because of the way they ran their country, and they're still like, they don't give a shit about their people.
Well, that's communism. Communism does not care. It's the government is in charge. It's kind of like being in prison, essentially.
Yeah.
You're going to do what we say when we say it, and you're going to wear what we say when we say it.
Yeah.
And if you think we're wrong, we'll either kill you or put you in this slave camp.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the biggest qualms I have with people that argue for equity. It's like, well, what are we talking about? Like, if you're talking about equitable results, you know what has that? Slavery has that. Everybody has equitable results in slavery.
Right.
No, don't worry. Jim's not going to have one thing that you don't have.
Exactly.
The problem with ideas like that and like Marxism is that you have to be able to tell somebody, this is mine. You can't have it. You can't tell me what to do with it.
Right.
Get the fuck off my property.
Yeah.
Marxism doesn't allow that, where it's like, well, there is no property.
Yeah.
There isn't. Everything.
collective.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
No.
no.
I don't want you coming over here.
No. Well, I mean, like, unless it doesn't give room for, like, say if, like, whatever business the state runs, right? That's, like, when people are like, well, communism is actually not about statism. It's like, yeah, it's not about the current state of statism. Until you get power, then you're just going to be like, well, the state is exactly what we need.
Right.
Thank God we have our fellow comrades in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're in charge. It doesn't mean it's correct. But, like, you, say if there's, like, a company that, like, you want to start your own company and, like, be a competitor. Well, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that, sorry. You know what you can do? What do we need? We need some more industrial labor workers.
Right.
That's what you can do.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be a teacher. Oh, we don't really need teachers.
Yeah.
Sorry, can't really do that. I want to explore. Oh gosh, well, we don't really like exploring too much. You know, we've already sort of discovered everything, so you don't really need to do that. Tell you what, though, we do need a steel mill worker. If you want to, like, everything is centered around what does the state need on an industrial level.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now in China, it's corporate communism. So now where it's like, oh yeah, look, like Pepsi's available in China. It's like, well, yeah, because the Chinese government said they could.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like television shows and movies that are shown in China. Well, the government still edits those shows.
They steal all your Google info.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. It's like the TikTok thing where people are like, oh, I can't believe they're censoring TikTok. It's like, they're not censoring it because it's a cool app. They're censoring it because it's data mining for the communist government.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
They're buying they're figuring out where all these Americans live and buying them up from this app.
Yeah.
Figuring out, they're making a profile of you through TikTok. They know what you like, when you like it, and when you like to watch it.
Yeah. Haven't you ever listened to Ed Snowden talk about what America's doing?
Oh, God.
Now look at what, like, again, like this government in China is doing. You want those assholes to have that kind of power? Dude.
Chinese businessman to show up at your front door and ask to buy your property.
Yeah.
Like, where'd this guy come from? TikTok. I had no idea. Oh, I heard your property was for sale. You want a good price?
But I was talking about this with my buddy Andy Kirkland on the show about like, I don't think that in America we should allow foreign nations to be able to buy land.
Right.
I think that it should only be, like, you can lease the land, totally, but I think that only folks in the country, civilians, citizens, and local American-owned businesses and American-owned corporations should be able to have land in America. I don't like it, but like California, like they've been just like selling chunks of it to the Chinese government for this a light speed rail. Like some super fast train they want to put in.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, your state's on fucking fire.
Yeah.
Maybe you should not think about the train right now.
There's 30 million people down there homeless in LA.
That's fucking wild to think about. And I know you're being hyperbolic with the number, but like
I think it's like 30,000, right?
It's like 60,000.
Yeah.
So imagine like if all of Valdosta was homeless.
Right. Yeah.
That's what's in Los Angeles.
Right.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Insane to think about.
And where's all the money at? Like, where's it all going?
Gavin Newsom. It's going. The
It's
governor's
crazy. That's the most populous state in the union.
Yeah. That's
Where's all this weed revenue going?
where indeed.
Yeah.
Like they're talking about now in California, they want to outlaw in 10 years all gas powered cars. Like that, every car in 10 years is going to be electric or green friendly in some way. It's like, again, like, what's your contingency for now, though, man?
Right.
Like, your state's on fire. You've got people that don't have anywhere to go. You've got businesses locally that you have shut down forcibly.
Yeah. They've turned off all their natural gas.
Yeah. And they don't have electricity in a lot of these cities because of this particular company, PGE, I think it's called.
Right.
That's like mismanaged everything. But yet, don't worry, gang.
Right.
We're focused on global warming 10 years down the road from now.
Vote Democrat.
God, that whole fucking party, man.
Oh, that's Nancy Pelosi's district, isn't it?
I think she's San Fran, but she, with all of, and I'm not a fan of politicians in general,
right?
But she may be at the bottom of that fucking list, dude.
She's a drake.
Like, below Mitch McConnell, below Chuck Schumer, below Trump and Biden and Kamala and Pence. You'll find my hatred for Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
I do not. I think she's despicable, dude.
She's got some fashionable mask. Have you seen them? This whole mask thing has turned into a trend.
Yeah.
The politicians are raking in.
It's weird, man. Like even like there's, I keep one in the car in case I go someplace where they're like, "Sir, you have to have a mask." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go put it on. I just want my groceries.
Right.
I don't want any trouble." But like other than that, like I'm not voluntarily gonna put one on unless a business that I want to support says you gotta have a mask on.
Right.
But I was in the I was in the grocery store. I was in Publix the other day, and there's they have folks like right there like so you gotta have a mask on, whatever. But
door Nazis.
Yeah, more or less. Where is your mask, sir?
Yeah.
Where's your card, Jew? Where's your card? That's what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be where's your card, Jew. It's gonna be where's your mask,
Yeah, where's
Jew?
your mask, Jew?
But so like I'm in there and I'm like I need like meat and spinach, like bare essentials for my basic bitch diet to survive.
Yes.
But I'm coming down the aisle and there's a dude without a mask and like it's coming right towards me and I grip my face mask and I start to pull it down. I can see his eyes wide like, oh man, what's this tattooed motherfucker gonna say, mate? And I just pull it down and go, hey man, how you doing today? And he's like, good. How are you? Like totally took him off guard because I guess he thought that I was gonna be an asshole to him, just be like you wear your fucking mask.
Yeah.
No, I was like, you came in here without a mask on. I want to tell you hello. Like that's, and some folks I go to, I out and about if I don't have a mask on,
right.
they're super friendly to me, and other folks look at me like I just ate children alive in front of them.
Yeah, I was standing somewhere and I didn't have I just forgot to put it on, and I looked around and I noticed all the masked people when they were cutting their eyes at me, and I was like, oh, good night, man. Like it just drowned your house cat.
I knew I recognized it
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's the one that drowned Fluffy, babe.
That maskless bastard.
I seen him peeking in the blinds too. I know it. I know it. I'll call Ashley. I know Ashley.
I'd recognize that furrowed brow anywhere. I knew it.
Oh God.
It's pretty wild, man. Like most of the folks I know, most of them have not gotten like this, whatever this apocalypse fever is.
Right.
And I would agree with you for the most part on, I guess what you said, your initial assumption was that this is just a test drive, baby. Like,
Right.
this is not the pandemic. This is just, we're seeing how you guys react
Yeah.
for when the pandemic actually happens.
Right. Because it's you can catch it rapidly, but it's really not that fatal.
No.
It's killing like less than 1% of the population.
Yeah, it's the danger with it is that nobody knows what the fuck it is,
Right.
and how
It's new.
Yeah, and how it's so easily spread, but selectively spread at that.
Right.
So, like, I totally get why, like, even though I still kind of think that's mostly a false flag, but I still get why we shut everything down for essentially a year. Whenever they shut down things in, what was it, March, I guess it was?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was just like a few weeks later where I was like, yeah, this whole year is just kaput, dude.
Right.
Like, it's just gone.
I'm lucky I got out of jail, man. There's still people sitting in there. The court system has just stopped.
There's other states where they, I shouldn't say states, but it's counties within the states, but like in Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, I think Oregon was another one, where these certain counties purged their jail.
Oh.
Like, just like everybody went on house arrest.
Yeah.
And one of the cats, as soon as he got out, he was in jail for attempted murder. He went and murdered the person that he was locked up to for attempting to murder.
That's a lawsuit.
Oh my God, dude! Like, and they just like the state was just sort of like, oh, it was really unfortunate. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Releasing somebody like that,
Yeah,
man.
those are the folks you don't release.
Yeah.
Attempted murder, rapists,
Yeah.
pedophiles.
Yeah. If somebody's in there for money laundering,
Yeah.
or like possession of drugs or something like something that's not violent, yeah, totally. Get them out.
Right.
Put them on house arrest. I kind of think that's sort of what we should be doing anyway.
Right.
Is I don't like
600 people out there in the jail.
Yeah. Well,
And they keep it that way because it's a business.
I don't know if you would know or not. Do you know if is Valdosta prison privately owned?
Oh, well, the prison is ran by the state.
Right. The jail
jail-
is still managed by the county, though, right?
Yeah, the jail is ran by the county. No, we don't have a private one here in Valdosta. But now the prison is one of the worst prisons in the nation. And the media doesn't cover that a lot. There's people getting killed in there every week. I had one of the counselors that came out to see me for Veterans Affairs at the jail said he had to quit because he was getting post-traumatic stress disorder himself because he was seeing people with their dicks cut off. And the assistant warden, he was attacked and had his eye gouged out. Suicide is skyrocketed out there.
Right.
And it's because it's a mental prison. It's level 5 mental. So that's the violent rapists, the people that think they're Jesus and they're calling down wrath, but they don't realize that Jesus stood for peace, so they're executing people while they're doing it.
Well, they're making up for lost time.
Yeah.
Jesus realized in his second coming that, well, I was too nice the first time. Time to purge them all.
Yeah. So it's crazy out there, but that we don't hear about it a lot. But the other side is RSAP. So that's a good program. That's a rehab. It sucks. It's like boot camp for drug addicts. It sucks. I mean, it would suck.
So, I mean, is it effective and does not abuse prisoners? If it doesn't abuse the prisoners and it's effective as far as rehabilitating them to get ready to come back out, I'm all about it. But I don't think we should be putting violent and non-violent, mentally competent and mentally incompetent into the same gen pop.
See, that's how it is in Lowndes County Jail because they have. Well, the really mental health people, they put them in the special one, but I mean that's special cases. Everybody else is mixed in together, and all the violent offenders are mixed in together. I was in there with this staff sergeant in the Air Force. He was about to get medically separated, and he was in on this child pedophile ring. He was selling pictures of his own $2 up to people up in Canada, and Canada somehow was alerted to it and they contacted Homeland Security, and they're like, "Hey, you got this member of your military up down there. We don't know what else he's up to and who's involved, but it's become a big problem in the military because you have all these active duty military members that can go to these countries where they don't care about kids. You can you can do anything to a kid as long as you got a buck." And so they'll videotape it and take pictures, and then they'll sell it to the highest bidder on the black market.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, and that's like one thing. Whenever I've had some friends that are like name one good thing about Donald Trump's administration. I'm like, okay, easily. He has rounded up more child sex ring traffickers, more pedophiles, and child pornographers than the past 3 presidents combined.
Boom.
And just in 3 years, not even counting 2020. I don't know the stats on 2020, but as of July of 2019, he had done more than the past 3 presidents. In 24 years, he had rounded up more of them in 3 than they did in 24.
Jeez. These are folks that are just sitting in folks' neighborhood and they don't even know it.
Yeah. And like you said, like there's countries. I think Senegal is one of them. It's on the western part of Africa. Where the sort of like that little chin of Africa sort of sticks out, the nose of Africa, into the Atlantic. And it's not a large country, but it's got like its prostitution laws there are non-existent.
Oh yeah.
And there's another.
Taiwan is real big.
Thailand. Thailand, yeah. There's I think it's Myanmar that borders Thailand, but there's like right on the border of it is like they have all these signs going into Thailand, like telling parents, please don't sell your children.
Right.
That's fucking wild.
It's wild.
And again, it goes to people not wanting to address some of these elephants in the room, where it's like, hey man, I'm all about open-mindedness and all that shit, but I have a line that I draw, and when it comes to like child pornographers and sex traffickers and human traffickers and stuff like this, nah, that's a hard. That's got to be a no from me.
Yeah,
dog.
that's a hard. And it's a major problem in America, especially the Super Bowl. That's one of the major human trafficking movements in America, because they bring in all these. They look like families. That's how they disguise them. They go to the Super Bowl for these billionaires.
Well, and that's for my friends that are on the left and the right, when they talk about some of the border checkpoints that or not checkpoints, the detention centers that like ICE runs. So when folks are like, we should abolish ICE, I'm like, I disagree, because ICE is also doing this stuff with the human trafficking arrests. So I don't think we need to abolish it. However, what is going on the border is, there's a big problem, because, like you said, there's all these coyotes, these human traffickers that get kids that aren't theirs to make it look like that they're a family.
Right.
And whenever they are all detained together in these detention centers, well, that's where a lot of these transactions are taking place. Because the way these detention centers were being ran was that they would just hold you until your day in court, and then when your day in court came, they would issue you a new court date and then release you into the United States.
Right.
So now you and your quote-unquote family make sure you come back here on your court date. Not really an effective way to run national security.
Right.
Yeah. And it's been this way for a while. And I didn't know about this kind of stuff, until like 5 years ago or so, when I started delving down rabbit holes and whatnot.
Right.
It's a big fucking problem. And what we need to do, as far as these detention centers on the border, is we need to put more money into them so that we can have ways to verify that these folks are coming here and they're doing it properly. There was sometime probably about a year ago, I know it was before COVID, but they had some major crackdown at the border. I think they had one of the places they were putting the wall up,
right?
That that this path was just coyotes couldn't go through it anymore,
right?
So they had this one guy was filming at the wall. He's like, I want to show you guys something really awesome. And he pans the camera over at the border checkpoint. There's a mile long of people that were waiting to come in legally, to come in properly through the country, doing it the right way. And that's awesome. That's America.
That's America. Yeah.
It's not about let's sneak people in. We need to get past those kind of days.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if we we do things where we're taking money out of immigration and custom enforcement, and we're leaving them with these ramshackle and shitty ran detention centers where these coyotes have just like they just come back here and they just procure more and more people.
Yeah,
like they
just prey on them.
Yeah, and it's the same way with like some of these third world countries where they have pretty much open markets where they're not slaves, but I mean their families are selling their own kids.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Their families need to eat. Yeah, they have too many mouths to feed. Hey, well, Cindy, you got to go. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's your turn.
There was there's this one documentary that got what do they call it, shelved, I guess, where like they started to make it, and then it was supposedly being funded by, in part, Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, Mac Miller, and I think Anthony Bourdain,
right?
And all of them are dead.
Yeah, I was about to say
all of them are dead. But this one guy, it was this story of this guy from Thailand, and he was talking to the interviewer. And he was a teenager at this point. He's probably like 16 or 17. Mm-hmm. He's like, imagine if I were to try to tell like your kids that my family sold me to a stranger for $10. It's
crazy.
Like $10.
Right.
That's what they sold their son for. It was $10. He was like 6 years old when they sold him.
Dang.
Unreal. Like there's slavery going on now, more slavery going on now than what was going on when it was legal to do, like in the Confederacy in the 19th century. You know?
Yeah, Libya.
The entire nation's a slave state.
Yeah, it's the open market. The U.S. policies when we toppled Gaddafi have failed. But like I don't know why the world is not paying attention to this country. They're selling everybody.
Yeah, you can watch them on YouTube.
Yeah, it's crazy. But no one. Where's the UN when this is going on? Where are the United Nations when this is happening?
The older I've gotten, and the more I've looked into it, I'm not a big fan of the UN.
Yeah, it's like a gang, maybe? A racket.
I think it is a racket. I think it's a way to have a global government where, like, we don't have any say so about who Canada elects. We don't choose who Egypt elects. You know what I mean? And the UN is sort of set up to be like this world police, to be like, well, we're actually higher than all of you guys. We're the top dog. Kiss my ass. Like no. Anytime I've seen in cartoons or comic books or movies growing up, whenever a company or an organization tries to take over the world, it's usually the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think we have a tendency to like things because of what they're called, right?
It sounds good.
Yeah.
United Nations.
United Nations. How can you be against the United Nations? It's
Right.
like, well, what do they do? The Federal Reserve isn't a part of the federal government.
Right.
It just sounds like it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have to sort of like look deeper into these things, and like again, like you point out, it's like where's the UN in Libya?
Right.
Like what are they saying about China, like rounding up the Uyghur Muslims and like putting them on trains and sterilizing the women and shaving their heads? Like in America, you can't really get away with that. There was some doctor in Airborne County, not far from here, that at one of the ICE detention centers supposedly performed 2 surgeries that were like hysterectomies that were unwanted.
Jeez.
Big to do.
Like, I'd say
like that's some like Nazi shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like they've already like started like investigating, and like they're already, because you can't get away with shit in America anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like I'll still see like people posting online like they're performing unwanted hysterectomies at ICE detention centers all across the country. I'm like, I've seen this one guy, and it was 2 cases. Now I'm saying both of those 2 are horrific, and those are crimes against humanity. But to sort of say that like, oh, it's going all over the place, That's not true.
Right.
But it is in Libya.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And female genital mutilation.
Yeah, they're circumcising women against their will.
Yeah.
Because it's unholy for her to come during sex.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
God forbid she feel good.
Yeah. No, this is the right way. It's in
Yeah.
our holy book. Like, I don't give a shit what's in that book, man. Like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Outright. Yeah. But meanwhile, the husband, he's got some poor boy chained to the bed. He's raising him as a sex slave.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. That's in my holy book as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can find anything in a holy book to justify evil.
Right.
You know?
Or you can write any holy book to do what you wanted to do. I guess was getting back to the Nazis. Like, the scientists devoted themselves to this way of life, and we knew that they were devoted to this way of life, but we still brought them anyway.
Yeah.
Because we had to get ahead.
Yeah. Because if we don't do it, somebody else will.
Exactly.
And there's a harsh truth in that to it as well.
Right.
There's a guy named Mike Baker. I think he's ex-CIA. Was on a Joe Rogan episode, and he was talking about like these sort of what you call it, international dilemmas, like intelligence dilemmas,
Right.
and about like Operation Paperclip in particular. He's like, look, at that point in time, he's like, Germany had the pole position on the planet. They were the top dog, and they lost it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you better be thankful that the U.S. filled that void and took that position, because if we didn't, then, what, you want Russia to do it? You want, what, Great Britain to do it? You want China or Japan to do it? Like you didn't want that. You know, you wanted to make sure that, like, if this kind of shit is going on and this technology exists, then you want to make sure that your country understands it so they're able to better combat it when other countries catch up. Because
Right.
eventually they're going to catch up.
Yeah, they're going to catch up. Yeah.
So, well, it's like nuke technology now.
Yeah.
You know, like that's almost 100-year-old technology from American standpoint. But for some of these countries, like they now have the bomb. You know what I mean?
The bomb.
They finally caught up. So, like, I get the reason why they did it, but at the same time, if you don't acknowledge that, like, yeah, they recruited Nazis.
Yeah.
At this, like, people that I've seen wear like NASA shirts, and they're talking about like, fuck Nazis, they're evil. I'm like, you're wearing a NASA shirt, dude.
Yeah. Werner von Braun designed all of that.
Yeah. He ran the Apollo program.
Oh god, I gotta check that grill.
Totally.
It's raining now.
Oh yeah. I'll pause this real quick. So your book, is it still available? Is it still in print?
My book is still in print.
What's is it? Let me see if I can remember it. Is it Beer Cans and Bayonets? Not Your Grandfather's War Story?
No, it's Chutes, Beer, and Bullets, not your grandfather's war story.
Yeah, so close.
Yeah, like parachutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon is the cheapest. But yeah, you can get it like Barnes and Noble and.
Well, roughly tell people what the book's about.
Well, the book is about. So the book follows me. You joined me in Airborne school in the Army. I joined the Army, January 2006. So I joined as an infantryman, and then I volunteered for Airborne school, and that's in Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
So that's the home of the infantry. All infantrymen in the Army have to go through there. And all airborne people have to go through there. All Rangers have to go there. All Special Forces have to go through there. So anything, if you're infantry, you have to go through there. So the book starts there. It starts with me on my first jump. You come in the plane with me, and then I take you from there. You meet 5 of my friends, 6 of my friends, who I still keep in contact today, and you go with us to Italy. That was my first duty station with the 173rd Airborne, and then you go with us, and we train there, and you get to see how military life really is for a single like soldier, men and women really. Like they live like rock stars because you get trained, especially like the infantry mentality, the airborne mentality, because you get trained to jump out behind enemy lines into fire. So I mean, you have like a 45-second lifespan. If you're gonna get killed in the air. So then
that's about how much time you have floating, I guess, from after the chute opens, about 45 seconds.
Oh no, they give you like 45 seconds to live if you jump in enemy combat.
Oh,
yeah, because with weapons these days.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we're trained. You have this mentality, beat into you that you're invincible, and we're all 19 in piss and vinegar. Actually, not everybody's 19. One guy joined, and he was 41.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
They took him at that age.
Yeah, and he was Somali, and they
must have been a beast.
Yeah,
dude. For 41 years old.
He was, man, and they gave him hell. They were like, "Where were you in the 90s? Were you killing Rangers?" Because that's where that's where Black Hawk Down takes place.
Yeah.
Somalia. Yeah.
Holy shit.
So the book, you get to meet all these different kind of characters, like the Somali, and my friend Clark from Seattle. He joined the Army because his dad's was a meth chef, and he was on a high-speed chase through Washington State eating marijuana, and that's before it was legal. And so he had nothing better to do. He was living this crazy life, so he joined the Army. So you meet these different people, and then finally we go to Afghanistan. You get to see how combat is in Afghanistan. There's a lot going on, but a lot of times there's not a lot going on. We're just sitting around finding stuff to do.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I've heard. Hunter had talked about. I think he was in Kazakhstan for a little bit with special forces. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for him, but he was talking about that it's like 90% boredom and then like 10% sheer terror.
Right. Yeah. You're sitting around at the time, or you're on patrol and you do this every day and nothing. And they tell you don't get complacent, because when the shit hits the fan, and it's on, because the dudes that are attacking you, they haven't been doing this every day, like attacking you. So it's new to them. That might even be their first attack on Americans. Or maybe they came from another country and they've been wanting to do this their whole life. So this is the day, and they're going to do it to the best of their ability.
Right.
So and that's how I got wounded. I got shot through the left arm, and I took a bunch of shrapnel through the neck, because it was the end of the day for us.
I know you got a Purple Heart.
Yeah, Purple Heart for that. Yeah, I was the only one wounded out of 60 people.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was the gunner.
That's pretty, I'm glad you're okay, but that's impressive, though.
Yeah.
Only one dude out of that many people.
Yeah, that's the American military at work. We have low casualty numbers and high death rates. I guess, that's how you want to war around.
I have a buddy of mine that's in the Navy, and he's officer. He's pretty high up. I won't say like what ship he's on or anything like that, but he was telling me one time that they had some sort of gun on the ship that it wasn't a ballistic weapon, but that it could use. I'm guessing some sort of laser technology, but that they could hit any target and keep it within I think he said like a 10-foot bubble, like up to from 2 miles away to 20 feet off the ship, and they could pinpoint the accuracy of something specific to where anything that was outside this 10-foot bubble would be unscathed by it, and anything within it would just be obliterated.
Yeah, that's the kind of technology we use on the Iraq invasion in 2003.
Oh yeah,
we have missiles that are dropped from planes that they punch through the building and leave the structure intact, so we don't have to rebuild it, but everything inside is just wiped out.
Holy shit.
So we can come in, just clean it up, and install our own stuff.
How long were you in Afghanistan for?
I was in Afghanistan 15 months.
Damn, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, that was 2007. That's the height of the conflict going on. The surge in Iraq and the Afghan war. That's when they needed everybody. They were taking everybody.
What do you think about this? Trump had said that he's going to limit the troops in Afghanistan to, I think, something like 500 or 1,000 by December. That's all that will be left in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I think it's going to destabilize the region, because the South is going to return to what it. I mean, haven't we made a peace deal with the same people we invaded and took over?
Yeah, a couple times. We initially were fighting against Al Qaeda, and then for some campaign, we enlisted the help of Al Qaeda,
Right.
which doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Yeah, now we're like giving them land back in southern Afghanistan and making peace with them, aren't we?
I don't know if we're giving them land back. I know that, like, they're giving it to somebody, though. Like, that's the thing that, like, and granted, I was never in the military, but I get, like, I play chess a lot, so I get the logic of if you move out of one area, it's going to create this vacuum, kind of like what we saw in Libya.
Right.
You know, where...
Iraq.
Yeah. Who do you want coming in? Because if you leave it to where it's just the barbarian horde
Right.
that's going to come in, well, that's... You just made a bad situation worse.
Yeah, then you have to come back.
Yeah.
And clean it up.
Yeah.
We had to go back to Iraq. And
Yeah.
I mean, we still have troops in Iraq, in Western Iraq.
Yeah. We've been in Iraq since, what, 1990? Like,
yeah, we never left Kuwait. Once all that stuff started?
Yeah.
Yeah, we never left.
Yeah. I mean, shit, my dad went over there. He was 40 years old. And, like, he was on some assignment that was doing transport of chemical weapons between Kuwait, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. And he did that for just 7 months. And he was talking about there was, I don't know what the hell they were carrying, but I'm guessing it was pretty sensitive. He said that every day they had a new password.
Right.
And if they didn't have the correct password at the checkpoint, then
Dang, that's it.
that's it. Sorry.
Imagine someone not liking you and giving you the wrong password.
Oh my god. Dude. Oh my god. There's another buddy of mine. He got into what was it, cryptography, like code breaking
Right.
and whatnot. And he was talking about that in this room on the ship, that on some deployment, that there's another guy in the room with him, that just in case the guy outside the door gets compromised, the guy inside has to kill the code breaker, just so the enemy won't get the code.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck, dude? He's like, yeah, it's a little unnerving, but I mean, you get used to it. They're nice guys. I'm like, yeah, but they have to kill you if the ship gets compromised. Like, that's got to be unnerving, but I guess, like, they do such a good job in the military conditioning you to that fear that you...
Right.
It's kind of like if you're on Adderall or amphetamines, your fight or flight response is just steady, constant.
Right.
So you don't feel that adrenaline like you should.
Right.
So I imagine they've done a pretty good job with that, to have that many people.
Oh yeah, I was in ran a gun team in Afghanistan. So I was a 240 gunner. So I was the gunner. I had an assistant gunner. Then I had an ammo bearer, and I carried an M9. Oh yeah, and we all agreed if we were getting overran, I would kill them and then kill myself.
Yeah.
We're not getting taken by these, whoever they are. That we call them the anti-coalition militia, but they're not American and they don't believe what we believe, and they will anally rape you as much as they can.
Yeah.
Because that's how they make you like them at least 7 times, as I think what they preach. And then God knows what else they would do, but that's just the welcoming committee. The 7 rapes.
That's like where the Wahhabis. It's like this Arabian sect of Islam that started up in like the 17th or 18th century.
Right.
And like their whole notion is that it's not like, it's kind of like take all the bad aspects of church and then you bring it into the military.
Right.
And where it's like, we have to not only cleanse everybody, but then we have to more or less tear down the structures, dig up their graves, like everything's an abomination to like our ideology.
Right.
It's like total war, where the idea is like, well, if we burn the entire planet down, then we can rebuild it and it'll be nice.
Yeah.
Then. Like,
no.
Doesn't sound like a swell idea there,
No.
fellas.
Isn't that what Hitler tried to do?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
It goes back to the whole like villain and comic books thing. Where
Yeah.
it's like, I think if you're trying to take over the world to make it a better place, you're not making it a better place.
Yeah. Somebody is going for you to move in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the Native Americans got such a bad deal, man.
Yeah.
Like looking back, just hindsight, obviously.
Well, they recently, I've talked about this before on the show, that in Oklahoma this year, the Supreme Court finally decided on a case from the 1990s. This guy, I'm pretty sure he's dead now. He argued that he had a murder charge against him from the state of Oklahoma, and he argued that technically the state of Oklahoma didn't exist geographically because the land he was on, he cited a treaty from, I think it was 1892 with the Creek tribe, the Muskogee Creek tribe, and the U.S. government. The Muskogee Creek tribe was guaranteed this land back after helping out the government with, I think, a military mission or something.
Right.
And they never gave it back. So this guy argued that technically he didn't commit any crimes against the state of Oklahoma because he wasn't in the state of Oklahoma. He was in Muskogee Creek tribe territory.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court decided he was correct this year. And so now it brings up this thing where pretty much the entire eastern half of Oklahoma, including the panhandle up top, is not Oklahoma. And that like cities like Tulsa are not Oklahoma technically. They're Muskogee Creek tribe territory. So it would be autonomous land. So that means criminal laws would be different, the tax laws would be different. It wouldn't be state, it would still be like controlled by Muskogee Creek and the federal government, but that Oklahoma has no rights to it. So now they have to look at all the prisoners that are locked up in eastern Oklahoma for crimes against the state. If they're crimes against the federal government or crimes against a local municipality, then it doesn't count. But if it's against the state of Oklahoma, technically now all of these incarcerated men and women will have to be retried or let go entirely.
Dang.
So it's setting up this this domino effect I think we're going to see over the next like 50 to 100 years of a lot of these states that they're going to get broken up
Yeah.
to smaller states and territories.
Anything west of the Mississippi.
Yeah, like I mean almost all of California
Yeah.
was claimed land already.
Right.
So I don't even know how they're going to handle it. I think like it's kind of been swept under the rug. Well, I mean, it has for like news stories because it's 2020. It's not fashionable. It's not COVID related.
Right.
You know, it's not election related.
Right.
But I think we're going to start seeing some of these notions of these land grabs from Manifest Destiny, and I think the U.S. government's going to start making deals.
Yeah.
And
like Indigenous People Day over.
yeah.
What you call it? Columbus Day.
Yeah.
It's on my calendar now. Is that?
Indigenous Persons Day.
Yeah, on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it says either or, so I guess you can pick.
Well, shit, man. I know we got to wrap it up here.
Yes,
'Cause,
sir.
Got some activities to go for. Thank you so much for being on the show.
It has been
Jesse.
great.
Dude. Yeah, man. It's great seeing you. I'm really glad you're out. You're a free man.
Oh, me too.
I hope you stay free.
Yeah, me too.
Your book. Tell everybody again where they can find your book at.
Oh, you can find my book, Chutes, Beer, and Bullets, Not Your Grandpa's War Story, at Amazon.com. Just Google, or you can Google me and look for cheaper options if you'd like.
Is it Jesse Holder is the author on the book as well?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude.
Hey, good to see you, man.
Hell yeah. Later, everybody.